No?
Nothing so far. I'm just going to meet you all just to confirm that you can. And so Adam and Jane Gordon. Excellent. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, that's better now.
Brilliant, excellent. So do use the questions section in the GoToMeeting if you have any questions throughout. As I said, I will be checking them and answering any questions that you have. Perfect. So the audio is a little unclear. Hopefully you can hear us a little bit better now. Brilliant. Do make a question if you do have any issues at any point. I'm just going to mute you all again so that it helps with the audio. And we'll get started.
Okay, so I'm going to go through the presentation, and I will also be going off to other websites and resources to show you practical examples of some of the things that we're talking about. But just a little bit of an introduction to ourselves. We are a consultancy, and we specialise in certain areas of consultancy. We specialise in social impact measurement and evaluation. We've been doing that for some time, helping not-for-profit organisations understand social impact measurement and evaluation. We help people with business strategy and feasibility studies as well, but the majority of our work is around CRM, specifically Salesforce CRM, and the design and implementation of Salesforce CRMs, which our clients then roll out internally as well. And we also help them with change management, as you will see in just a second. So a little bit about our experience in rolling out CRM systems. As I said, my name is Martin Brockwell. I used to work for a homeless charity working with homeless youth called DePaul UK. That had two CRM systems. It had a CRM system, a bespoke one called the Link system, and then it used Salesforce. And when I left there, it had about 30 projects and about 130 users all over the country. I then did the same job in a much larger organisation called Family Action, which again is a service delivery organisation that has around 60, 70 projects nationwide and 300 plus staff. Then Sarah can tell you about her experience.
So my first experience with Salesforce with large not-for-profit was National Citizens Affairs, where I helped administrate and roll out the Salesforce systems for 45 staff across 12 charities in 27 countries. So we also rolling that out to additional staff members and users, had to bear in mind such things as languages, different time zones, different Wi-Fi infrastructure. So we'll be talking about some of those in a bit.
Okay, so this seminar which we're giving this afternoon is really a practical appendix to two other training sessions which Economic Change deliver. One is planning a CRM system, and the other one is change management. These are usually delivered by our boss Heather. They're very good and quite lengthy presentations, and usually all-day training events which can be given online as well. These are links to the pages on our website which describe these training sessions. I won't click on them now, but I will obviously email this presentation out to you all afterwards, and you can follow the links there. Moving on, I have included in this presentation, just 4 slides from, I think it's 4 slides, maybe 5 slides, from those 2 presentations. Firstly, the one on change management. And before you really undertake a CRM rollout, you should have asked yourselves these questions, really, because it's not just the rollout is an ongoing part of a IT infrastructure project and change management project, where these questions should have been answered long before the rollout starts. And the answers to these questions will be integral as to how you perform your rollout and what form your rollout takes. So obviously, you need to be asking yourselves questions such as, what change are you looking to make by introducing a CRM? What is the reason for this change? And I'm sure there are some very good operational reasons as to why you would need a CRM system. What stage you are currently at in making this change. Hopefully by now you will be at a point where you can actually go ahead and start to implement CRM, and what the potential impact will have on stakeholders across the organisation. Hopefully that impact will be nothing but positive. So also you would need to think about things such as, is there a business case to make the change, understand the rationale for the change in detail, and then undertake obviously discussions with stakeholders about this change. That would probably be the people who are going to use the CRM. And the whole point of this presentation, the whole thrust of this presentation, is really to look at the practical engagement of those users so that they find CRM exciting and useful and valuable for the work that they're going to do. So just another slide from that presentation on change management. You should be starting to draw up, you should have already, before you engage with the CRM rollout, these sorts of questions about the changes that are going to be made. A new CRM system is going to be introduced, which will probably have new management processes. The 2 things, in my opinion, are completely interlinked. The CRM introduces new ways of working to your staff. Who is going to drive that change? I'm going to talk a little bit more about that on another slide a little bit later on. And what does success look like? I think is something which you should always consider when rolling out a system. Not only is success the fact that your organisation starts to use the CRM, but that it starts to introduce real advantages to your organisation. So it's cutting time on communication and cooperation in terms of project delivery. It's also cutting costs in many different ways that a CRM can do, and we'll get onto those in just a second. This is a slide from the CRM design course and training course which Heather gives, and looks at some of the business outcomes that CRM can deliver. And again, this is key to really what I'm going to go on to talk about in a minute, because again, it contextualizes the CRM system in real tangible benefits for the organisation. And the organisation is not just the SMT team or the head office team. It has to be the people who are using the CRM system on a day-to-day basis. And those motivations and real tangible benefits should be drawn up in something like a motivations table, which should form a key planning document in rolling out a CRM. And it should be focused clearly on the benefits which the users of the CRM system are going to receive. So what I mean by that is, here is a plan for rollout, and if we have aims, objectives and SMART targets, we can see here that we have a very noble aim of introducing a CRM system across service delivery. We can say that we are a service delivery charity, for example, working with young people, disadvantaged young people. And we want to introduce CRM because we want to collect distance travelled information. So we want to see how well these young people progress with our help. And we also want to reintroduce CRM because we want to collect demographic information from these people. And of course, this information is going to be of incredible use to us when we're reporting back to our funders. But it's also going to, because we're using CRM, it's hopefully going to make it a lot quicker to analyse data. And it's also going to improve the quality and quantity of data that we have. You may well think that that is fine as it sits, that plan, but in my experience, and I think Sarah will concur, she can add her comments in a second, it's not quite there yet as a plan. This plan needs to really engage with the procedural operations within an organisation in order for it to be successful. If you think that by rolling out a CRM system and training everybody in it, people are going to start using it to collect distance travel information because they want distance travel information, or they're going to start collecting demographic information because the organisation needs demographic information, then I'm afraid that's probably not going to happen. What you should do when you draw up a plan for implementation of CRM, in our opinion, is you should always assure that the system integrates fully into business processes. And this comes back to the design of the system in the first place. When you're looking to design a CRM, what is it going to do? How is it going to be used? And how are those processes going to drive your organisation forward? And when you come up with a plan to try and evaluate how successful your CRM implementation has been done, we recommend that the objectives always stress the real and practical benefits for staff and other stakeholders of the use of CRM. You may think that that's already been done in the previous plan. I'm just going to show you the revised plan in a second, and hopefully the differences will be clear. So always try and stress that there is going to be easier data entry involved, easier and exciting data recall, so data reporting, much easier data storage, better communication if CRM is used, and better coordination as well. So this is me rewriting the plan around with bearing those things in mind. So the first objective now reads: replace a paper-based distance travel exercise with an engaging and interactive electronic distance travel tool. It will have some sort of graphical interface that will produce an interesting and exciting graphic to be used by a project worker with a young person. That is selling your system to the project worker. It's also selling it to the other stakeholder, the young person. And I think that will bring about greater engagement with the system and use. The second objective: improve coordination of referrals and reduce paper and printing costs by collecting electronic demographic data on all clients. It's a very real and tangible benefit which many project managers and project admins will enjoy from CRM. If this information previously is collected on paper and it has to be stored somewhere, you now don't have to do that. And local budgets can be significantly revised by the use of CRM. And so hopefully you can see how we're trying to integrate the system into the needs and the wants of local stakeholders. Sarah, I wondered if you wanted to add anything to that at this stage.
It's just ensuring that everyone working in the organisation and your has a feed into the objectives and how it understands how it relates back to their actual day-to-day job. So you're selling it to them. It's not just saying this is what's going to happen, deal with it. This will generally help your organisation is will have control. And it's also saying it's probably make a greater impact in the area and the sector that you're working in. So you tie it back to their wish to make a positive impact in the world, in their sector, with their not-for-profit organisation, and actually explain how these CRM objectives achieve that rather than adding additional workload.
Exactly. That's really a key introductory point to this presentation, of which I'll come back to at later points. Does anyone have any questions or comments on that at the moment before I proceed?
We have two. Is anyone else having any issues with the sound? If so, please pipe up so we can see if it's just one situation or if it's multiple users. Jane, I'll try and work out how to improve that for you. And okay. Yes, so we are still having issues with the sound. So in a second, I will go and get perhaps a better headset. It might be with the microphone. So I'll pop upstairs and I'll get another headset which might help with the sound for Keisha and Jen. So I will go do that now. While Martin answers, how can we convince seniors senior management to get a CRM?
Yes.
So that's the question.
That's a very good question, and I think in the ideal scenario, you would hopefully have a senior manager who, I think it's the very next slide I'm going to show you, is your project champion who is going to champion the rollout of CRM. That is essential that you get one of those. But how do you get one in the first place? Well, I think there are many benefits to CRM which can be discovered by, first of all, understanding CRM and its benefits in more detail. So, for example, obviously CRM allows you to have much greater coordinated and strategic effort around communication and relationships with stakeholders across your organisation. It can also save you enormous amounts of time and effort when it comes to accessing crucial data. And I think a way you could build a case for CRM would be to look at some of your processes which are currently inefficient within maybe service delivery or fundraising or HR, and highlight the pain points or the things that are going wrong in those different areas, and make a case based on those pain points and your knowledge of CRM as to how CRM would improve your situation. I would also recommend that you can hopefully use a, thank you, sir. We're just trying to sort out the headphones here.
Okay, so hopefully you can now hear me clearer. We have changed our headsets here, and these may well be working better. Has that resolved people's sound issues? Could we have some feedback as to whether that's
much clearer? So thank you. Okay, so I shall continue with a new set of headphones. Yes, so the point I was making, I think, before was to how do you convince senior management to use CRM, or that CRM is necessary? And I think that if you undertook a study of your current processes, and I think I'll show you how to do that in, and again, another couple of slides, coupled with your knowledge of CRM, which you have learned from, hopefully, places such as the Salesforce Foundation, you will be able to build a case of its benefits and how it is going to make a real and practical difference to the delivery of your services. Okay? Do you have any further points to make on that, or should I continue? Caution. Okay, so I'm just going to continue on now by looking at some of the practical issues that you need to have around the CRM rollout. Obviously, you need to have staff in place to handle the CRM rollout. Now, the key member of staff, of course, to make sure that the thing is a success, is not just the project champion, although they are essential. A project champion should be, as you probably know, somebody in a senior position, part of the user's line management, so either head of services or perhaps head of fundraising, who is fully enthusiastically behind the project, so who's been sold on the benefits of the project. So you would have to work on somebody and convince them, if you don't have them already, of the benefits of CRM. And hopefully, as I'll say in a second, when we get on to looking at process and process mapping, you can make that point by building an evidence case. The next person, however, which both Sarah and I are both in fully agreement is really necessary to a successful rollout of a CRM system, is a project administrator. This is a person who is either employed on a full-time or part-time basis, and the post is dedicated to the rollout and administration of the CRM project. In both my previous roles of working within projects or within charities on CRM, I have been a full-time project administrator. Of course, everyone may not be able to have a full-time project administrator, therefore you could employ a part-time one on a fixed-term basis to get over the rollout. Or if you can't do that, it may well be an idea to give the role to somebody, but not on top of their existing responsibilities, but to replace some of their responsibilities temporarily. It is a job which requires application and time dedicated to it. So it won't work, in our opinion, if you just give it to this office administrator and say you are now going to administrate the CRM system for us. And it won't work, in our opinion, if you give it to your IT help desk, whether that's just internal or whether they are a third party that you may have and say, can you now administer queries about our CRM system? Sarah, do you have any issues you'd like to add to that?
So for most CRM,
sorry, we're having a slight issue.
most CRM systems we find that the skill set that they need is slightly different than an IT staff member and the office administrator. It's a strange combination of skills, which, sorry, I'm having a very strange echo effect here. I'm going to pass back over to Martin.
Now, in order to have a successful rollout of the CRM system, you do need to have someone who has this responsibility that can actually dedicate the time to ensure that everyone is trained on the system, that business requirements can be gathered correctly. If you're having a third party consultant working on this, who are successfully managing internal project management. And it's someone who actually knows the ins and outs of the day-to-day workload. In the past, I've worked for tech organisations where the person helping with all that has been very, very intelligent and very engaged and has had a lot of IT experience. They have not had the experience of the day-to-day working day-to-day before. Because of this, they can end up creating a system and rolling it out in a way that doesn't actually suit the needs of the staff that will be using it most. Staff that will actually be doing the day-to-day work with more beneficiaries or more members of organisations. You need someone who understands both sides of the world. And as Morris will probably share in a minute, we think it's much easier to teach someone the skills of a CRM than it is to teach them the skills of communication and business analysis and know to engage with various stakeholders. So I'm going to come back to Martin now.
Okay, and we shall continue. We have a question now, I believe, here from Gulshan, where he's pointing out that there is a limited budget, and can we get to CRM implemented with a small budget? What is the effort or cost? There is a cost to a CRM system. If you are going to completely self-administer, then you would it would be a much longer project. But with systems such as Salesforce, it is possible to learn how to design the system yourself and then train your staff members on that. But we wouldn't really recommend that that approach is taken. We would recommend that something with significant experience of doing it before is brought in. If you do have a limited budget for CRM, you can apply for different grants and different money pots which can help with the implementation of CRM, and we do have some information on those which we can let you have later on, if that would be of use to you or anyone else. Just moving on from staff here, the next thing that I wanted to talk to you about for planning for a rollout of CRM is really the logistics of the controlling of the exercise. If you are going to use Salesforce, then there are some very good project management apps which you can invest in. Some of them are free. We recommend one called Mission Control currently, which if I click on here, you should see there is a link in this presentation to a description of how this app will work within your CRM system itself. So you can just install this on your CRM, and you can use this to project manage your project very successfully. The other approach that you can have is to use your CRM system, again, if this is Salesforce. I'm just logging on to Salesforce here. So if this is logging on to the Salesforce system, in case you haven't seen Salesforce before, this is an object within that system where we're keeping information on the various programs that we're running within our organization. We have a project called Employment Support, And within this section of the system, I have added, very simply, as you can do with many CRM systems, a section which allows you to keep records on the rollout of the system to the different projects that you have internally. That takes literally 5 minutes to set up, and there's no reason why you can't use the CRM which you are planning to roll out for fundraising or for service delivery to actually manage the rollout and uptake of the system itself. It's an excellent way to do it. So just to return to our presentation and to continue, Sarah, on an international approach, has a few practical things which you should always bear in mind when it comes to the international rollout of a system.
When you're planning for international rollout, it is important to ensure that the infrastructure is there to begin with. So that's in terms of whether they have good enough internet and Wi-Fi access, whether they have the computer facilities to be able to cope with the cloud-based CRM system. If they don't have good enough regular internet, if they have regular dropouts in both electricity and the internet, then looking to apps that overseas that can use to access data offline. There's a few apps, the Salesforce App Exchange, Salesforce was the CRM system we were looking for, which means that certain staff in overseas offices still can access that information even when they drop out on the internet for a while. It's also a good idea to check whether accessing certain data overseas, so overseas logging into the CRM system and accessing that data, whether that affects any of your data protection policies. And even if it doesn't, do double check that no staff overseas are exporting that data from that CRM system and saving it to servers overseas, as that can also create certain data protection policies. In addition, one also want to consider is setting up trusted IP addresses. So if you do have multiple offices that you are going to roll this out to, finding the IP addresses and adding them to the CRM system as trusted IP addresses to ensure that they have greater ease of access and they don't have any issues with constantly having to verify to log in because the system, the CRM believes that they should be accessing some of those locations. So I'll just pass back to Martin.
Thank you, Sarah. So, continue. When we talk about training people, I'll show you some examples from within our system of a training library of materials in just a second, and developing training modules, what we mean by that. But I think the most important point that I would like to make about training, and this is granted is an issue if you have an international organisation, but there are ways around it, which Sarah will allude to in a second, is I have a strong preference for classroom training. So the project administrator who you've identified, full-time, part-time, temporary, permanent, will travel around the country and will go to a project and train them personally. Maybe 5 or 6 people typically in a room. You take your laptop with you, you have a projector, everyone gets a training guide which you will have written previously. You will demonstrate data entry, again crucially focused on the processes that they are expected to carry out for their day job, not CRM in general, not a general introduction to Salesforce. You're going to look at specifically what they have to do with the system and answer any questions that they have with them while you're there. Now, you can say that you can do that on the internet, which you can do, but the huge benefit of face-to-face meeting is to be able to establish personal relationships with your end users. That's the key thing. That will help the project be a success and drive the project forward. You also get to understand the environment, again, and the day job, the day-to-day user. And by doing that, you may well be able to offer them some quick wins, some additional bits of little functionality which you can develop yourself, they will love, but weren't in the major CRM plan from the beginning. In terms of training materials, I will show you those examples in a second. I believe there's a slide here which Sarah has put together around training specifically for an international environment.
Thanks, Martin. So as Martin was saying, yes, in-person training is probably the best way of helping ensure that the CRM rollout is successful and adoption is common. However, when dealing with an international rollout, it can be quite hard to achieve. There's a few things to bear in mind when rolling out internationally that will help ensure that your training is still successful. One thing is to create very short video clips showing how to do simple everyday tasks. Again, like Martin said, this is relating it back to their actual day-to-day job. So, for instance, if they want to help a volunteer successfully completed a piece of work, and have a very quick short video showing how to do that. And if you create those short videos without even necessarily using language, but you would just follow the mouse, follow the clicks, then you make it accessible across all languages and all offices. If you are going to have online training, do ensure that you have a translator present if possible, and it can truly make a difference, even if the staff do all speak the same language or if you speak the same language as them. Having a translator who is fluent will ensure that there is no misunderstandings when you are explaining how to use the system. Do ensure that the translator is familiar with the system beforehand. Have a short meeting with them first to ensure that they're also not learning for the first time while also translating, as that can be quite a lot to take in for any one person. And have a practice online webinar with the Salesforce champion in Microsoft first to ensure everything runs smoothly. Sometimes I have been in situations where it's taken half an hour to get a field office actually being able to log in to the online session. Everyone actually logged in and understood for it to work. If we have some practice sessions with Salesforce champions first, they can identify if there's any issues at all with that session. The next aspect is to try and match time zones. So I know this might come quite left field. In terms of if you are dealing with multiple countries, multiple offices, then actually matching countries that have roughly the same time zone together to share their training with them not only saves you resources, but it also doubles up as a way that field offices can share best practice and actually get to know each other. And again, this is tying back to not only teaching them how to use the CRM system, but giving them the benefit for their day-to-day job as well, allowing them to share questions, best practice, and answer amongst staff members that may not always end up talking to each other due to not often being in the same meetings. So I'll pass back to Martin now.
Thank you, Sarah. I think the next slide takes me to, yes it does. I'd like to show you now some examples, some practical examples of the types of training materials which we should be considering putting together in order to help your staff get to grips with the use of a CRM system. So by just coming out of the PowerPoint presentation for a second, first of all, I would like to point out to you that we use a resource that economic change called Glyphy. It's called glyphy.com, and in here you can draw out process maps Again, this is taking me back to my key point originally, which is making people engage with the CRM in their day-to-day job. People will have processes which they will have to carry out on the CRM to get things done. And the key point to start in training is to draw up a process map. These are very simply made on Glyphy. It's very easy. It's much better than putting the things together in Word or any Microsoft product, simply because look, you can pull things around and the arrows stay together. Here we have a simple process for referrals, so for a client of ours. So there's in it you describe what bits are going to happen in Salesforce, what bits are going to happen outside of Salesforce. We happen to use it in economic change. White boxes are things that happen outside of Salesforce. Dark grey boxes are things that happen automatically in Salesforce. And light grey boxes are things that happen manually in Salesforce. Somebody has to do it. So as part of your business analysis of the project to start with, you would work out how your staff are actually going to use Salesforce by drawing out a process map such as this. They can be supplied with these maps for training. But you would want to really give them a bit more guidance than that. So what we would be looking at doing is producing a set of training materials. And here I have an example of one which we have produced for a client, or I have produced for a client. This is the sort of standard training manual that everyone insists on having, but admins like Sarah and myself hate producing, principally because we feel they're not particularly well read. But in order to make them well read, I think the emphasis should be on many links to other resources within the manuals themselves. So here we have links to existing bits of information about your CRM system, which exists freely on the internet. And then the actual sections consist of many screenshots taken with the Microsoft snipping tool, which again, if you don't know or have experienced in the past, saves you a huge amount of time when producing these documents, and a little text. And these manuals, the idea is that these manuals follow a visual guide to the process which you have outlined in Glyphy. Okay, so you've got the two levels of approach there as to how this is going to be used. And in fact, at the back of this manual, I think there is just repeated here. If I scroll all the way down, yes, the process map is again repeated at the back of the manual. So there shouldn't be any ambiguity as to why the system is being used, or indeed how it should be used from that point of view. Another thing which I wanted to show you as an aid is something which I developed in a previous job of mine. This is a poster. This is a poster that went up on walls in different projects. And again, this is a very visual aid which reminds staff that the CRM system is there, and reminds staff that the CRM system is to be used to capture essential data around the work that they are doing. This is something called an outcomes map. I used to work for a charity where we were monitored by local authorities in 5 key areas. These 5 key areas might be familiar to you. It's called Every Child Matters: achieve economic well-being, be healthy, enjoy and achieve, stay safe, and make a positive contribution. All of these different subsections down here were subsections of the CRM system, where data could be recorded about your client's progress, and their indicators towards these 5 greater outcomes up here. Again, this is another way of getting people to engage without just producing a leaflet, a manual which gets printed out and lost in the back of a drawer somewhere. The final way, which Sarah has already spoken about, but I shall just return to is the use of YouTube and any sort of screen capture software that you can implement. I bought something in my previous job called Camtasia, which is very cheap. It's only a couple of £100, and it allows you to make movies, which you can then upload, of course, to a free YouTube channel. And these have been watched several times by my ex-colleagues, but they're still in use today. This doesn't have any sound. I was making these back at a period of time when many PCs, especially within not-for-profits, didn't have any sound cards in them, so you couldn't have commentary. So we just used these little speech bubbles popping up to tell people what to do. Or as Sarah has already alluded, you might not even have that. You might just have a cursor floating around showing people what to click on and what to go to. This is actually showing somebody how to fill in a Word document, I've just realised, but there were other ones which talk about how to fill out records on a CRM system, which again here is Salesforce. So the idea is that you develop really a suite of different training materials. You have the traditional Word document that should really follow a process map and show people how to do a process. You can even film the process as well using something like Camtasia and putting it on YouTube. And then finally, if you are considering Salesforce, I won't click on this because this is an independent presentation that will start talking to us, but there is a piece of functionality within Salesforce called visual flows. And this is very helpful if people have to follow a process but are not very good at remembering where to click, how to do it. This is a little wizard which Salesforce will help you build and take people through a step-by-step process on how to fill out data on perhaps an application form or a referral from a client or a fundraising process, something like that. So we recommend that you investigate all those different types of training options. Really, and then this is the key point that I made before. This is getting back to the fact that the scenario you want to avoid with CRM is this one here, which I'm twiddling my cursor over now. You do not want the poor project worker to be entering data and see it disappearing off into a big dark hole, which they're not quite sure why they're doing it in the first place. You do want the CRM system to be used by people who can see that it's going to solve local problems for them. I.e., in this case, it's going to remove the need for a big filing cabinet because all the information is going to be on a computer, and it's also going to help the staff team coordinate much better down here. And this leads me on to a point about the trainer and the admin. It would help if the admin is a good problem solver and can do a bit of business analysis as well. Because when you go out to meet your staff and when you introduce the system to them, you will pick up things in conversation which they probably need, which haven't been considered before now in the main project plan. I have a couple of examples here. I'll just talk about the middle one because I think we're running quite short on time if we're going to have any questions at the end. But I used to work for a hostel environment where there was it was a drop-in hostel, so it had a huge turnover of people coming in and out of the hostel every week, and it was the custom of the hostel to buy birthday cakes for people who were celebrating a birthday that week, but they never really cracked the idea of being able to know when somebody's birthday was cropping up. So what I did was very simply build a report for them using Salesforce that emailed the system, the office administrator every Monday, and told them which of their people, if they drop in, would celebrate a birthday that week. And that may seem quite a inconsequential piece of cheap win problem solving, but it created huge engagement and respect for the CRM system in that particular office. And that type of local engagement and local easy solutions, I really do think will make your CRM system much more popular and much more successful. So really, just to plug the idea of having some sort of central admin on the project a bit more. The advantages that we see of having some sort of admin position is that there is a clear focal point for users, and that's really a password point of contact. You'll be surprised how many people phone you up and say, I forgot my password or I can't log in. It's very simple for you to just then reset that password. There's one place they can go which can be done quickly and easily, and they'll be more likely to use the system. Another thing which they can do, apart from maintain just general project momentum down the bottom, is head up what is called a project's champion group. We suggest that CRM systems have an internal sort of champion group that you set up, which will have members of staff on who will hopefully be called super users, or advanced users of the CRM system. This is a group which usually meets every quarter, and within that group, the administrator and the super users will plan out new developments and test new developments for the CRM. And you can also receive feedback from the coalface, if you like, as to how things are or aren't working. And the third thing, which is not actually on here, but is very important, is that the ability to have a champion group and champion users among your organization is that it allows you to disseminate key information or impart key information about the system among your staff team. If it's all in one person's head, who is the admin sitting in central office, then they might be doing a sterling job, but if they do decide to leave or can't work with you anymore, and no one else has that information, you're back to square one again. Whereas if you've been nurturing a super user group with people in it who are interested in the system, then it might be very easy to just promote one of those into the new admin position. And at the very least, you should have a cohort or a cadre of people who understand the system better than others. So really, a good admin, we think, should be client-facing, have an understanding of the process and the day job of everyday users. So not to understand CRM really from a hugely technical point of view. We think that they should have an ability to be a business analyst and to problem solve, especially at a local level, some of the examples that I've showed you. And we would prefer, both Sarah and I, a bright staff member with an interest in process and efficiency to be involved in the development, rather than, say, an IT techie or an IT developer who you may have, if you're lucky enough to have an IT department, who could be given the responsibility of looking after CRM. Have we any more questions? We don't have any come through? Okay, so I'll just continue. So this really brings me on to the closing stages of the rollout process. After you've gone in to train a team of people to use CRM, or to train an individual on use of CRM, again, once you've given them the handout, you've given them the training, you've sent them the manual, don't expect everything to happen immediately or to happen at all. In some cases, nothing may well happen. I would always recommend that you leave a team that you train, or a person that you train, with an action plan. So a practical action plan, perhaps with 2 or 3 smart action points on it. So they're going to do some data entry, and they're going to do some process testing by a certain date, and then you follow up, just like a sales call. You might consider following up after you've initially spoken to somebody and find out whether they did actually do it and how it went. That's very key in making sure that the rollout goes smoothly. And the final thing is, I've noticed in some of the CRM systems that I work on, you're training often an admin in the office to run reports from the CRM, because they're now going to have to do some sort of quarterly report, some sort of performance report, which is going to have to go to management from CRM data. Just because you trained them 3 months ago before they have to produce this report on how to run the reports, don't expect them to be able to go back to the CRM when it has to be done and to do it perfectly. And also don't expect them to contact you and ask you for help, because that often doesn't happen either. In many cases, if they can't remember what to do, they'll just go back to the old way of doing things, which is what you don't want to happen. So find out when they have to run their first big report session from the CRM system and make a note to help them, to hold their hand and to help them through the process, hopefully online, if not face to face. And you should see that the uptake and the understanding of the CRM goes a lot smoother. So in summary then, from our presentation, I think a successful rollout of the CRM is crucially based around understanding your users and their jobs. So the CRM should be designed around their daily job. It should have processes in it, or there should be processes in people's jobs which are fully integrated with the CRM, and people understand the benefits of using it. So therefore you need to sell and promote CRM as a tangible and practical benefit to people's daily jobs. Yes, you need to find a champion in your senior management team, but you definitely need to have an admin who, either on a part-time or a full-time basis, takes on the rollout. The admin should be, as we have said, non-technical, client-facing, and quite possibly an internal promotion, who understands your business first and how it works, and then can probably learn about the CRM afterwards. That's, in our experience, more successful than going to get a CRM expert that understands nothing about, let alone your charity, the non-for-profit sector in general. Develop a support suite of materials, manuals, posters, videos, whatever you find works best, and also follow up on your training. I'll just pass over to Sarah. She has any additional comments for that.
Thank you, Martin. So yes, that is it in terms of our summary and our presentation. I think keeping an eye on the questions. We haven't seen any questions for the last 20 minutes or so. So do type in any questions that you might have in the questionnaire, and we'll take any questions now. So any questions that any of you might have about rolling out a CRM system, please let us know in the questions pane so we can answer them for you. Okay, thank you. It doesn't seem like there's any questions right now, but even Martin will be sharing this presentation. So if you do have any questions, our email address is at the bottom of the last slide. Do let us know, and we will be happy to answer any